Well, Bitcoin is enjoying its time in the sun again this week as shares pushed higher amid a flurry of U.S. applications to start ETFs investing in the token's spot market. With more on the latest crypto action, we have Brady Dale, Axios crypto reporter and author of SBF, How the FTX Bankruptcy Unwound Crypto's Very Bad Good Guy. Brady, good to talk to you today. We're going to get to the book in just a bit, but let's talk about the action that we have seen in Bitcoin. It feels like the bulls have come out yet again after what has been sort of, kind of a quiet period, we should say, after what the collapse that happened last year with FTX. Is the confidence coming back, you think, within the space?
Well, I mean, 30,000 has kind of been like the base in the bear market, so it's kind of like back to the base again. But there's a certain irony in crypto where like the whole thing started to, blow up the traditional finance system, and yet historically nothing gets crypto people excited like people from the traditional finance system showing interest in it. So that is the primary explanation for this week, but also Bitcoin, if you bought in at the start of the year, has had a good year. It's been going up all year since that first fall, as people move out of altcoins, out of the more speculative parts of the market and move into Bitcoin as something of a safe haven, for crypto believers, obviously, not a safe haven for regular investors.
Brady, though, how big of it, though, do you think it is just in terms of the boost of confidence, maybe for those who have been on the sideline now that more institutions are showing their interest in this or confidence in it? What do you think it's going to do maybe to the conversation 1, 2, 3 years down the line?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's really tricky because we have the Washington, particularly the Biden administration, fully attacking crypto, in every possible way that it can, and yet we have a few really big institutions, coming in a variety of different ways. So it just remains to be seen. I don't think we really know anything yet. This is a very volatile market. This is just a week of excitement. That doesn't mean it's going to stay up next week. These things move really fast in this world.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, though, does this hammer home the point that at the end of the day, it is about institutionals increasingly getting in or increasing their exposure to the space that will allow another leg up, at least if we're talking about the big assets like Bitcoin as well as Ether?
Well, I mean, once big institutions get in and stay in for good, that will certainly be a step change for the crypto market. Institutions were playing around a significant amount in the prior bull run, and that's when Bitcoin was around $69,000 a year, and we're still a really long way off of that. So, but in that time, they came in and they were only there to sort of take gains, and as soon as things started to fall, they didn't feel safe and they got out in a big way. We'll know that things are different the next time there's a big run and then there's a fall and some of these big players stick around and don't get scared. They came in last time and that was different. They didn't come in the prior bull run, but then they got scared. This time they're coming in the bear market, so maybe that means they do stick around when things go down again and they don't get scared, but it just remains to be seen.
Brady, what about, though, the odds of the Bitcoin spot ETFs getting approval, right? Because they've tried
I say
this
no
before.
way in the Biden administration. I say no way in the Biden administration. That's my call. I don't think it'll happen.
Interesting. What do you think needs to change in order for it to happen down the line?
A new administration.
Other than the administration.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just this administration has just, at this point, with all the things they've done, they've just made it clear that they're not interested in crypto being a part of the U.S. economy, right? There is nothing that's come out of anything related to the White House that has shown any positive sign in any way. It's a full attack. I can't explain why, but that's the case.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything anyone can do. I think BlackRock knows this. I think they're just getting their feet wet. They're sort of figuring it out, getting a rejection in, sort of letting the world know they're interested. And then when there's a different administration that's a little more open to it, then they'll really do it. But I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think we're going to see a Bitcoin ETF with Biden in the White House.
Are we likely to see more of a regulatory clash moving forward, given the SEC's recent actions against Coinbase as well as Binance? Yesterday we had Senator Cynthia Lummis, who's been very supportive of crypto, on saying she's going to reintroduce an improved version of the bill she introduced last year, but really that the SEC's recent actions increases the urgency and the need for additional regulatory action.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's happening in the legislature is interesting. Again, I'm not really holding my breath for anything to get passed. These are very long processes where, coalitions have to be built. And so I do think there is a cadre of the legislature who really wants to do something, but it's going to take time. And the other thing that's making this really hard, in terms of anything really happening, is crypto has frankly become a partisan issue. I mean, this isn't 100% true, but by and large, it's something that a decent number of Republicans like now, and most Democrats don't like, and that is not helpful in terms of getting things to move along. When I started covering this industry, it was just something that some set of younger legislators thought was kind of interesting, and most everyone else thought was weird. It wasn't partisan. But now it's gotten to be pretty partisan, and so that is going to bog things down.
Brady, what do you think is the single biggest driver to Bitcoin in the near term, given the fact that it doesn't sound like we'll be getting any sort of regulation, any sort of approval for a Bitcoin spot ETF anytime soon? So what is that number one thing that potential investors should be watching for?
Well, I do think big players coming in is really powerful. I think the thing that's also being a little bit missed right now in the larger conversation about Bitcoin is, there's been more activity on the Bitcoin network itself this year than ever before, because there's been some weird new technologies built on it. There's now NFTs on Bitcoin. There's other coins on Bitcoin because of this upgrade called Taproot. People have been pretty excited about that. So it shows people are really using the network, and that might be one of the reasons why institutions are just like, okay, this thing's not going away. Let's start to build something for it. But a crucial thing to keep in mind about the stuff that's come out this week is almost all of it is stuff that's built for institutions to institutions. None of these big guns are giving normal people a way to come into it yet. But yet, these folks have tons of money. So if lots of that comes in, that will be good for price long term.
Finally, Brady, I want to get back to your book. It sort of reiterates the title here, because I think it says a lot about how people viewed Sam Bankman-Fried, the FTX bankruptcy, Unwound, crypto's very bad good guy.
Yeah.
I'm curious what more you learned in the process of writing this book, but more importantly, to what extent is what happened with FTX, specifically SBF at the helm, how much of that was specific to the company? How much of it was a symptom of the space as a whole?
Oh, I think it's all specific to the company. If anything, and I write this in the book, the FTX story is illustration of the fact of Satoshi's point overall. Don't trust, verify. I've created you a technology through which you don't need trusted third parties, and yet everyone wants convenience, and so they use a trusted third party, and it turns out this was a third party you couldn't trust. So it is entirely the fault of SBF and FTX. It's not inherent to crypto.
All right, Brady Dale, Axios crypto reporter, also author of that book, SBF, How the FTX Bankruptcy Unwound, Crypto's Very Bad Good Guy. Thanks for joining.
Thanks so much.